The Hamilton Wentworth District School Board offers to its students and their parents and guardians an inclusive and integrated programming and service structure. With some exceptions, this means that every student will attend their home school and will be assigned to a regular class and classroom teacher. We know that whenever possible, student needs are best met in a regular classroom with their peers, where they have access to the provincial curriculum. Students benefit from remaining in their home school and have an increased opportunity to graduate if they remain in a regular classroom. Changes in placement within this program service model are determined through the IPRC process and involve significant communication with parents. Ministry of Education Regulation 18198 governs the Identification Placement Review Committee, or IPRC, process. IPRC is one of the many acronyms used in education. You may have heard this term and are wondering what it is and if it is something that would benefit your child. IPRC stands for the Identification, Placement and Review Committee. Let's walk through each letter of this acronym together. The I in IPRC stands for identification. One of the roles of the Identification, Placement and Review Committee, or IPRC, is to decide whether or not your child should be identified as exceptional. Students are identified as exceptional according to the categories and definitions provided by the Ministry of Education. Specific assessment information such as health or medical documentation are used to determine if your child meets the criteria. The categories and exceptionalities are: behavior. This includes behavioral exceptionality. Communication. This includes autism, deaf and hard of hearing, learning disability, language impairment, and speech impairment. Intellectual. This includes giftedness, mild intellectual disability, and developmental disability. Physical. This includes blind and low vision or physical disability. Multiple. This includes multiple exceptionalities, 2 or more. Once an identification of an exceptionality is made, we then move to determining the type of placement that would best support your child's strengths, interests, and needs. So, the P in IPRC stands for placement. The placement is the physical location that the student attends school. There are 3 possible locations. The first location is in the regular classroom. We know that whenever possible, student needs are best met in a regular classroom with their peers where they have access to the curriculum. Students benefit from remaining in their home school and have an increased opportunity to graduate if they remain in a regular classroom. If the IPRC determines placement to be within the regular classroom with indirect support, your child's teachers will use strategies or accommodations to support your child's learning. Oftentimes, the shared strategies not only help the exceptional student, but also benefit other students in the classroom. If the IPRC determines regular class placement with resource assistance or with withdrawal assistance, then direct support from a special education teacher, such as the learning resource teacher, either individually or in small groups, would be provided. The support and services are individualized for each student. The second location is a self-contained special education class. This placement provides a separate learning environment to students whose social, emotional, behavioral, or learning needs require greater support and supervision. In this placement, your child would leave their regular classroom to attend a program in an alternative setting. This classroom may or may not be within your home school and is the most restrictive environment. Although most exceptional students attend a self-contained special education class with their age-appropriate peers, fewer curricular opportunities may be available. Some classes offer integration opportunities into regular classrooms, and this integration, when possible, is based on student strengths and interests. The third location option may be a referral for consideration of admission at one of the provincial schools for the deaf, blind, or deafblind, or one of the demonstration schools for students with learning disabilities. During the placement decisions, parents are encouraged to share the type of placement that they would like for their child. It is also important to ask your child about where they would like to attend school. Now remember, the P in IPRC stands for placement. Some parents confuse placement with the educational program or the service their child will receive. A formal identification does not necessarily mean that additional supports or services are required. Programming and services may be discussed at the IPRC meeting, but they will be managed by the school team at a later date. Next in IPRC is the R. The R stands for Review. There are two types of IPRC meetings. The first type of meeting is the initial meeting, which will determine if the student is deemed to be exceptional. The second type of meeting is the IPRC Review meeting. A review is held at least once each school year. Parents or guardians may also request that a review be held at any time after your child has been in a special education program for 3 months. The IPRC Review meeting provides an opportunity to review student progress and to determine if the exceptionality, placement, and/or supports and services are still needed. The IPRC considers the same type of information that was used in the initial identification and placement meeting, as well as your child's progress in relation to their individual education plan, or IEP. Parents or guardians and students 16 years of age or older are invited and encouraged to attend the IPRC meetings to learn about and discuss progress. And finally, the C, which stands for Committee. Identification, placement, and review committees are composed of at least 3 people. One member will either be a supervisory officer or principal who acts as a chairperson. The other members could include another principal, a vice principal, a learning resource teacher, a classroom teacher, or a special education consultant that are connected to your child's school and familiar with your child. The committee, with parental input, makes the decision about whether the child is exceptional and program placement and is involved in the annual review. We hope that this video has helped you to learn more about and understand what an IPRC is. Details about initiating an IPRC meeting and the format of the meeting can be found in a separate video. HWDSB staff are here to help. If you have any questions or concerns about your child or the IPRC process, please reach out to your child's classroom teacher, learning resource teacher, principal, or school specialized service consultant. Additional information about IPRCs can be found on the HWDSB website and the Ontario Ministry of Education website. Take time to review the information, and we would like to answer any questions that you may have. Remember, we all want what is best for your child and to help them learn and be successful.